Whoa! We're back with the green tide on WAAAGHDAY Wednesdays, here to present the tournament results from Nova and other amazing war bosses. Let's get into the orc stats as we always do, how they did through the weekend, and overall in this 10th edition meta. This will be the end, hopefully, of the meta armies. Eldar, Custodes, looking at you, you ugly gits. That being said, hello everybody who's here. Hello, hello. My first time doing it alone, guys. David is in Italy, so if we ever have any technical issues, blame me, and I will resolve them. So let me just real quick talk about some of the minor stat results that we had last week. Orc GT performances, we were at a 42% win rate. That is down from last week, but it's okay. No big problem. Our overall against the GT meta list, let me pull up my, this is our stat by stat matchup, but overall from August 1st to September 7th, as of today, out of 2,166 games, orcs are at a 56% rate out of the Leviathan GT pack. That's great, you guys. We've risen. We've gone up roughly 5% or more. That's really good telling for us. We're still under GW's watchful eye of who to nerf and hit with the nerf hammer, which is perfect because if we're doing that well with how ugly the game is right now and some of our hard matchups, you can only imagine how nasty we're about to get. We're about to run over these boys. So, as that being said, let's move up. So our top 3 hardest matchup, guys, if you can look into it, right? If we're sitting at a 56% win rate, and if you look at my start date for these guys, let me try to zoom in a little because I don't want to ruin this. So the start date, guys, since August 1st to September 7th, we're sitting at a 56% win rate. The only armies that are doing better than us right now, guys, that do beat us for the most part are Custodes, Imperial Knights, and T-Sons are the 3 armies that beat us up, and the only armies that are doing percentagely better wise with wins are the Golden Boys and the Eldar. Okay, so we're literally number 3 in win rate in the last 5 weeks. I'm not making that up. You can go ahead and look at it on your Goonhammer 40K stats. I'm going from August 1st to September 7th. So you can see right here, and to Custodes, we are still sitting at a 36% win rate. Eldar, we're actually doing quite well. If they're not bringing the meta list or they're not really that seasoned of a player, orcs just run right through them. They don't have enough punch to get us off them. We take over the board and we score high on the mission. We get down to GSC, we're still sitting at 50%. T-Sons are another army that gives us a hard time, and Imperial Knights. Pay attention to that Imperial Knight stat, guys, as it's going to be relevant in the next coming topics. All right, I'm going to take a look at the chat real quick before we actually get into the list. We're obviously going to go through my top 3 picks for the list this week. One of them is one of our actual resident war bosses, so that'll be amazing to talk about. Let me look at the chats real quick, make sure I'm not lost in the sauce with too much tech. So we got Rob. Oh yeah, let's go. War energy. Whoa! That's exactly what I like to see. Give me that war energy, guys. I'm pumped up today. We got some more. Wow, great day to paint some orcs. It's always a great day to paint them orcs. I know you got a lot of them and you're always behind. Oh, we got, I hope the Death Dread is reduced in cost. Really, I agree with you greatly, right? 150 points, it's just not sitting in a good spot. It's not even that durable. So you're well within your rights there. We got walk. Let's go, lad. Let's get this stream crumping. Exactly, guys. Let me get this crumping, right? I managed this myself today. We got it. Ready to crump. Let's go. We got here. Oh, we got an interesting question. I haven't seen this Merc yet. Post vibe Merc. Do you think you could win a bare knuckle fight against a 1-pound squig? Ooh, that's interesting. So the key word here is bare knuckle, meaning I can't stomp it. So I have to go up and punch it. And if you ever seen a squig's head to mouth ratio, I'm pretty sure its mouth is about this big, even if it's a 1-pound squig. And then the rest of it is just like a tail and, like 2 organs. So I'm going to have to say no, because as I go to punch it, I'm pretty sure it's just going to take my hand off. But if I can stomp it out, I might have a chance. Oh, but we got, I'm sure there's an Australian saying that he can take it. So I'm not sure where you're from, Cal, but I'm assuming you're Australian saying you can take him out. Doc Rap. Whoa. We got a bunch of WAAAGHs getting me nice and pumped. Let's go. Get me pumped up, boys. Let's go. I'm excited for this week. We got some interesting topics. We got some good war bosses. And we got WAAAGHDAY with the free stomper. So I appreciate you guys and want to get into that real quick before I lose track of the saw. So let's move over to my first residential war chief. So we're going to talk about the first list we're going to go to is Brad Chester. So Brad Chester was the highest placing orc player this weekend. If you're not familiar with who Brad Chester is, he is a very, very competitive, very, very highly skilled Warhammer player in general, and he's been playing orcs on and off throughout the editions. I met him last year. Last edition, Las Vegas Teams event. He was still running around. He was still into orcs even back then. Oh, and I see we actually got a lot. Last but not least, I need to show this Brandon. Whoa. And Brandon, one of our resident war bosses, is the war boss we're going to discuss. And funny enough, he actually went into Brad early into the tournament. Early into the tournament. So that being said, guys, let's take a look at the war chief. Yes, I'm calling him the war chief because he is a highly skilled player, and he's actually been on our channel before as we went over his list and such. So let's get right into his list. Here we have 2 beast bosses, no upgrades. Captain Badrook. Captain Badrook, as you guys can see, right? As I said last week, and in our top 5 or top 10 units, whenever you see the top performing orc list, you are very likely to see a Captain Badrook and the flash gets in there. There's reason for that. Now we have the mech. I'll tell you now, Brad let me know the mech was following the flash get truck around, giving it that +1 to hit. Mazrai's Crackback, of course, and the Nabon Smasher Squig. If you know me, you know I'm biased. I really like the Nabon Smasher Squig. I slightly favor him over the Squig boss on Squigosaur, as I feel like he's easier to deliver. He's more durable because it's hard to get through that big ablated wounds of the Squig Hog Boys. So I really appreciate that. Glad Brad did too. 2 units of Beast Snagger Boys, of course, for the Beast bosses. We got 3 trucks, not too much, not too little. 3 is perfectly balanced. 1 unit of Flash Gits, 2 units of Gretchen. Now here, let's give them a roar for the Bubba Chuckas, right? And I know people were asking me about the Bubba Chuckas. I was saying a little too random. Brad did not care. He said, go ahead with the Bubba Chuckas. Want to give a shout out to Speed Boss Ann, because Speed Boss Ann actually got Brad Chester in our Discord. She gave him a shout out. Of course, just helping the community as a whole. I really appreciate the help and the community. So thank you very much. Give her a shout out. Then we have the Squig Hog Boys, 1 small unit here, 1 big unit, and then another small unit, and then 3 units of Storm Boys. Brad was really, really much into those Storm Boy units. One thing he said before we go into the matchups is his Flash Gits were his MVP unit. He just said right off the bat, Flash Gits were the best. They did the most. Not surprised to hear that. Now that I've got a few more games in with them, they're very imposing, and they actually help orcs with the fact that they can do Overwatch and really bother those 30 units that are far away. His other favorite units were the Beast Bosses, of course. He said, who needs AP when you got dead wounds? So that answered my question for why he didn't have War Boss and Knobs. Then his other favorite units were the Nabon Smasher Squig. Of course, I love that guy, making your squigs. +1 to hit is pivotal when you're trying to actually get them stabs in when you lance, or the mounts to hit on 3s instead of 4s. Very, very important, guys, and you actually will appreciate that once you start putting in. You'll never want to fight squigs without them. And then last but not least, his Storm Boys. His Storm Boys were just amazing because he said every game they scored him a certain amount of points and that he greatly appreciated them. So I'm not surprised about that either. Now let's look at his first matchup. So his first matchup was the Golden Boys. Yes, guys, he went straight into one of our hard matchups as we talked about earlier. Golden Boys are one of our hard armies to go into, but Brad was able to handle it. So let's see what he got. We got a Shield Captain with Ceaseless Hunter, Trajan Valoris. 5 Guardians, 5 Guardians, excuse me. 3 of them have spears, and then the other ones have the shields. We have another 4-man unit of Guardians, so not really that Guardian heavy on this list, but that's still an imposing list. A lot of Terminators, though, even though they're broken into 2-man units, that just makes them easier to maneuver the battlefield, get into deep strike, bother you. And then you have the 3 Caladius Grav Tanks. These guys didn't realize it was 10th edition. They didn't get the memo, so they got increase in their profile overall. Everybody else got twin linked, and they reduced the amount of shots. These guys said, no, we get all the shots, okay? And then last but not least, he has his Caladius Assassin. He's very prevalent in the meta right now. And then the Ig Jackson squad, right? These guys think they got something on Grots. Our Grots will smash these guys. I'm saying that facetiously because I like them. And then he has a Vindicator Assassin. So as you can see, guys, he went into one of our meta lists. Also, I just want to say this, if any of you guys are wondering why I go a little quick through some of Brad's things, it's because he's actually has a channel that he's on. It's called Death and Glory. He actually went through his Nova games and his matchup even a couple weeks out, like his list, and then he actually is doing a video. I'm pretty sure he's in the middle of recording it. So if you guys want deep analysis info from his perspective and on his own, he can tell you that on his channel, Death and Glory. It's just a competitive, straight competitive channel. But Brad is on there, and he's a very good presenter and fun to listen to. So I recommend you go look at it. As for this custode list, of course, guys, if you play orcs, you know if you don't bring enough bodies to cover the battlefield and you have 3 expensive tanks, if they're not killing everything fast enough, then you're just taking over the board. Brad said that most games he was just getting killed outright, and it didn't matter because he was putting up too many points. And I could see how he did that against Custodes for sure when they had the 3 graph tanks. So great job. He did put up 85 points, so it was a little less scoring, but hey, it was still great. Now, the fun one, right? He went into Brandon, which is one of our war bosses, and we'll cover him actually later too. So in this matchup, Chester told me this was one game that he played a little less, more different than all the other games. It was specifically because it was squig on squig action. He said he used passive aggressiveness to kind of box in Brandon around his deployment zone and out of the objectives. That way he can use all his garbage chaff to actually score up and run up the score while everything else fought Brandon. And that's how he did it. And Brandon himself will tell you that it was an interesting learning experience. So we'll take a look at Brandon's list real quick because we're actually going to talk about him and his matchups too. So we got a Beast Boss on Squigosaur, Mazraz Crackback, Nabon Smash Squig, Nabon Smash Squig, Nabon Squig, Nabon Squig, Nabon Squig. So you see you got Cunning but Brutal here, so you could fall back, and Ed Wapa's Kill Chopper. Absolutely love that. 2 units of Beast Snaggaboys, 2 trucks, and then this was an interesting piece by Brandon. He actually had a Death Killer War Trike, and he gave it the enhancement Super Cyborg Body. And he said he greatly appreciated that enhancement. It was amazing. It really messed with his opponent's ability to delete that bike unit. The bike unit was still able to harass them. So that was awesome. 2 units of Gretchen. Brandon also loved those when he said in his response. Also, Brandon went through his analysis a little bit. We're going to do an interview with Brandon at some point. He's going to be the first channel interview. It's going to be a made great. I need to get good at interviewing and figure out how to do that, but that's going to happen. So we're not going to get too technical here because we'll hear from him. Now, the big bricks of Squig Hog Boys. Brandon went all in on the Squig, all in on the Snagger, right? You don't see the flash kits, you don't see as much shooting, but he brought the speed and he brought the pressure. Only 1 unit of Storm Boys. I like to go for 2. Brandon found a way to make it work with 1, but that's because he had War Bikers. War Bikers will serve a somewhat similar role, but they also go to fight chaff and stand on objectives. They're a bit more durable, so that's pretty awesome. So that was who Brad went into the second game. Like I said, Brad said he just boxed him out of the objectives and put it right off the point. He got 90 points on our resident war boss. Now, his third game for Brad Chester was against the Imperial Knights. So you know going in, if you're watching this channel, that Imperial Knights have been putting the hurt on the orcs as a whole through the addition. Nova didn't have very tall terrain. If you look at their pictures, we'll go through it. Once we do Brandon's interview, I'll probably have some pictures up as well. But it was impressive that Brad was able to pull this win off, and he didn't just pull it off. He put 100 points up against this list. I'm just saying it now because I couldn't hold it back. One thing Brad Chester did let us know, that he did let me know, was that he put a bunch of different units into Strategic Reserve. Not just this game, but in several games. So one was the flash kits with the mech in a truck. Then he put a second truck in Strategic Reserves, possibly with the Grots or on the foot. I'm not really sure. And then he put 2 mech guns into Strategic Reserves. And he said he did that just about every game. That was for scoring corner secondaries. That was for getting up the field a little faster in some situations. So I could see why he was starting. He just did it across all games, guys. So not even just Imperial Knights. And I'm strongly believing that that's a factor in how he was able to win, not just because he's an amazing player, right? You got to realize, guys, that sometimes you're going to look at a list and say, I play something similar, but I've lost some games. Sometimes a guy's just a master pilot to a list, and that's going to be a factor as well. So, but that's an interesting tech piece, guys, because a lot of the time, I'll tell you right now, I wasn't putting mech guns or trucks into Strategic Reserves like that. Usually it was something that I wanted to get into combat with, actually. So we'll go to the Canis Rex. Canis Rex is actually really relevant, pretty good in this edition. We got the Knight Crusader, a Knight Warden. So the guy was just going with the big knights. That's kind of how the Imperial Knights kind of work right now. Then only, I believe, 3 of the Arbingers with the Warglaives, and then a couple of the action squads, right? Got to get somewhere to score. But Brad Chester did put up 100 points against that list, which was very awesome. As for his fourth matchup, we actually had another Imperial Knights list, guys. Wow. That's why I said pay attention to the point that he said strategic reserves, because that might be a missing key, guys, to why Knights, or how you end up outmaneuvering Knights and beating them, right? They don't necessarily want to take over the board. Knights, they want to stand back a little bit, get shots off on you, diminish your army, and then slowly start walking up the board later in the game and just keeping you out of the objective. But in this case, I can see they don't want to get close to you, because once they start moving up the board, or WAAAGH, smash them out, we still have potential to destroy them. So putting them in strategic reserves kind of gives them a two kind of prong attack. You're saying, hey, if you don't come occupy this space, I'll occupy this space with stuff that you can't kill before it gets there. So that's something I'm going to make sure I keep in mind more often. So again, in this, it's a little bit different of a list. We got Knight Crusader, and a Knight Gallant. So of course, he's just bringing that firepower. And then here we have a bit more of the Armingers, but not that much of a difference. So as you can see in this list, another Imperial Knights matchup. Brad put up 92 points against that one, okay? Let's go into the fifth matchup. Yeah, guys, and he played, what is this? 8 games, guys. 8 games at Nova. Gosh, talk about a heavy burden, a heavy amount of gameplay, right? All right, going into the next game, he went straight into another meta army. So let's pay attention here, guys. He went Golden Boys, Orcs, Imperial Knights, Eldar. Right off the rip, he's going hard matchups, hard games right away. No holding back for Brad. It's almost like they've seen him come in and try to beat him down right away. Just kidding. So we got Tark Wayleaper, Farseer Skyrunner, the Yinkarn. So Yinkarn, guys, that might see something you see getting a nerf for sure in this Eldar code. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can get hit in the code art, and the indexes can get nerfed. But Yinkarn specifically needs to go up a little bit of points. Art of War did a great job of summarizing why the Yinkarn is so freaking annoying. But in whole, what happens is whenever you delete a unit fully, the Yinkarn can teleport over there, and she can start participating. Now, prior rule she used to have is that she couldn't take charges when she got over there and such. Now, she's in this edition, she's able to just participate in the game immediately once she teleports. That's a big issue because she's pretty much like a Katana to it in most ways. Then we have the obvious Fire Prisms, not 3, but 2 this time. Nice Spinner, Swooping Hawks. Warwalkers, not a bunch of them, just 1, so I can see. The Warp Spiders, of course, to get around the field and fight. I mean, to score, and then 1 Wraith Knight, which is very annoying. But Brad went in and took out this guy as well with a very high scoring game. We'll go into his 5th matchup. And guys, we're gonna talk about a little bit into what we expect tomorrow as well. I just want to get through this a little bit. It's a lot of games, and we're doing 2 Nova lists, so that's why I'm going a little faster today. Ask any questions. You want me to reiterate something? Go back. Just let me know in the chat. I'm gonna get the chat right after a couple more of these lists. Okay? Don't worry. I'm paying attention. So let's go into his next matchup. Who was it? Did I already put this one? Hold on. Make sure I didn't mess this up. Actually, that was one I just clicked. Okay. That's going to happen at time, guys. I got fat fingers. Okay. Then we're going to go into his 6th matchup, I believe. Right here, Death Watch. So Death Watch got a big splash when people started to run them. They're like, hey, death wounds everywhere. I actually used to own a Death Watch army, and I can see why people like it. And as a whole, it's just too bricky, too soft for my taste. And as a whole, with Space Marines, I don't think it does as good as people expect. But this player was getting to the top tables doing real well because they do great with death wounds. So we got a captain in Gravis armor, librarian in Phobos armor, and then a watch master with the Tomb of Claudius. Now here you can see he immediately came for the veterans. They got thunder hammers, they got the frag launchers. The frag launchers are multi-purpose. They can act as kind of almost like a flamer, not necessarily, but almost like a flamer, and they can put out some high value, high damage shots as well. He went through, and then he has some thunder hammers in there, of course. He went for another unit, followed by a Rhino, a Desolation Squad, because Space Marines love their Desolation Squad. Eradicator Squads. I personally don't fear Eradicators too much because they have a very short range. And once they get into range, we just delete them as orcs. Inceptors can be very annoying. And as you can see here, he actually went for a larger unit of Inceptors, which is a bit rare. But Inceptors as a whole, for Space Marine players, they use them to score. They use them to harass. They can get within 3 inches of you. The Vultures allow them to reroll wounds. They get sustained too. So they're very, very useful. And then Infiltrators to try to box people out because Space Marines hate to be flanked. But Brad Chester put up a great score into them as well. Put up 100. Let's go into his 7th matchup. Right? I'll make sure I'm not missing anything, guys. Okay. 7th matchup. Boom. He's called Swarm in here, turn down the AP. Interesting enough, we now know that the Codex is out, and they're going to have a Swarm kind of meta now. So let's see how that works out. We'll look at this list, and then keep in mind, hey, it actually have a Swarm detachment now. So we have the Neural Tyrant, Turvagon, of course, big baby, and then Wing Tyrant. I was kind of surprised about that, to be honest. The Wing Tyrant. I do own a Tyranid army. I haven't played them that much, but I played into them. Swarm Lord and the Tyrant on foot are usually what you see and what I like to kind of, if I was to build a list, what I would do. So this guy must be, he's a very unique kind of player. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a very high skill threshold and ran a lot of reps with this list, because as for me, I can't really see how I would demolish other than taking over the board with a bunch of bodies, which is what he did. So only 1 unit of gargoyles, a bit of surprise about that. Hormagaunt, they can advance and charge. And then we got Termagant, Vargants, Biovores for that free secondary scoring. Then 2 Maliceptors. Maliceptors are great guys. They're really annoying. They get -1 to hit. They shoot psychic powers. When they get the feel no pain on top of their 4-up info, they're very annoying to dislodge as well. Then Neurogons, Venom Throats, and Zone Thropes. Only 1 unit. I guess he just couldn't fit more on them, huh? But this guy just brought the horde, and in response, Brad buffed the pain because he put up 100 points against that list. Not trying to make fun of that guy. I'm just saying, Brad is awesome. So let's go into the final matchup, and this is the one game that Brad did drop, but he dropped it to Eldar, so no shame at all. We got the Artark Wayleaper, Farseer Skyrunner, and then the Yinkarn again. I think in the top Eldar list, guys, you're going to see the Yinkarn. I wouldn't be surprised if she sticks around unless they directly stop her from participating once she teleports across the field. The fact that you can kill something and then put something over there is a big issue. And I can see exactly why that's in every top performing Eldar list. 2 Fire Prisms. If you were paying attention to our earlier WAAAGH Wednesdays, maybe from like 3 weeks ago, maybe 4, you can see that that's when Fire Prisms started to fall off. Instead of 3, we started seeing 2. So we got Night Spinner, Shadow Specters. These guys seem to be very important into this list. Warwalker, Warp Spiders, and then let's see, less Warp Spiders than what we're used to, and then the Wraith Knight. So if you want to hear Brad talk about how he either demolished or lost, he has his channel, Death and Glory. Shout out again. So I'm sure he'll come up with the video soon, not too soon, I don't know when. But yeah, shout out to Brad. He also joined the Discord, so if you want to pop in there, say hello to him. And of course, our residential war boss, Brandon. So before we get into let me erase this list. And I guess I'll just pull up all. Remember, this is one more time. We'll look at Brad's list just because I want to. Beast Boss, Captain Badrock, Mech, Mazrog, Nabas Smashes Quick. I see no fat in that HQ listing. I've been running at least 1 Beast Boss on most lists because they're great, of course. Brad also, remember what he said. He said, who needs more AP when you got dev wounds? So that's a very orky way to think. 3 trucks, not going too crazy. Flash kits, Gretchen, 3 mech guns that are bubble checkers, and then some Squig Hog Boys. I like to run 1 brick and then 2 small units. Like I've said several times on stream, they're great for skirmishing. They bother people. They're just crazy to dislodge, and they actually have decent OC with each one having 2 OC. And then 3 units of Storm Boys, okay? So that his list, remember, he said he put 2 trucks, a Gretchen, and 2 mech guns to strategic reserves. And he only has 3 trucks. So he was most likely able to hide a lot of his army, stage them where he wanted to, that turn 1, to kind of mitigate his losses. Like we always said, control your rate of attrition and then come up the field. Because if the Squig Hog Boys are still on the field and you put everything else to strategic reserves, as the enemy comes up to try to box you out, the rest of it can kind of get into play. I'm sure he'll give a better answer as to why this happened or what happened, but still, just wanted to say that. Then we have War Boss Brandon, but before we look at that, I'm gonna pop over to chat and say hello to the kids. Let's see what we got here, guys. We got Chant Frank. Any predictions for the balance tomorrow? Will buggies get a boost? Okay, that's interesting. Here's what GW tends to do. They don't tend to buff things when they're in this mode of desperation. They're kind of in a mode of desperation right now where they're trying to keep the competitive play alive. They're trying to keep the game interesting. And right now, Eldar and Custodes are just abusing it. So I think most of their attention, if not all their attention, is going into what is bringing balance and harmony into the meta, into the game. Hopefully they just run in, they decapitate Eldar, knock their knees out, everything like that. I'll say this right now. If you ever hear me talk bad about Eldar, I don't hate Eldar players. I'm just someone who's always not fancied elves in any fantasy setting, so it's just fun to kind of make fun of them. But I never hate on anybody for what faction they play. But I do hope they get taken out. So no, I don't think we're gonna get hit with any like buffs. Maybe Trucks got caught on their radar because it was performing at a world events. But I wouldn't be surprised if GW just doesn't hit us, except for that one time, right? If you guys remember when they went over and they gave that quick patch and they tried to handle towering and they gave our Morkanaut plus 50 points, right? So that might happen. Like we might get a touch here on the truck or something, but I don't see anything more than that happening as Orcs are in a great spot. We're perfectly where they want us to be, and we've only crept up past 55% win rate in this last couple of weeks. So we most likely avoided the eye of Sauron, okay, of GW. Chris Brown said hello. Chris Brown, yeah, you punch women, so hello. No, I was kidding. Let's see. We got Artemis Steve. What's up, Steve? Ooh. Then we got Christian with his red dog, black doggo. He says, I think Orcs won't get touched much in this bad data slate. They're in a good game state and may rise even higher at the top tier armies get nerfed. I strongly agree with Christian here. We talked about that a couple times too. Is you look, if our matchups are Custodes, our problems are Custodes, somewhat Eldar, maybe a little bit of GST, then imagine what happens when they kneecap Eldar, they take away Custodes, lame fight first ability being constantly spammed throughout the game, right? Because even we have fight and death, but you can't fight and death all game across the whole board. So you limit their fight first a little bit, start messing with them just enough that Orcs can kind of surpass them. But as you can see, for most casual players and such, they are getting beaten down by Eldar. But in the top tier of the meta, if you start dropping Custodes that little bit, stop Eldar from almost auto-winning at the top tables, then you're going to see Orcs rise and just be at least an A-tier army, if not pushing into S-tier by our ability to score in the game. Let's see. I would agree, except it wasn't supposed to be a balanced update until recently. It makes me think they're going to tweak a lot more armies than we expected. Yeah, it was recent, and like I said, I think most of the time they're just taking a fire extinguisher and they're like, we gotta take out this fire, because GW kind of does that sometimes, right? It's almost like they forgot some of their own rules, like indirect. Instead of, it used to be -1 ballistico, +1 armed save to the enemy unit. That would help in general across the game if they just did that. I know indirect isn't destroying anybody, but people just don't like to see that regardless. So I'm not surprised. And yeah, I don't think they're going to touch Orcs much other than maybe our trucks, just like they randomly nicked our Morkanauts for no reason. Let's see here. The Deep Strike units allowed Brandon to play his punchy units super aggressively and not have to leave anyone behind for secondaries. Yeah, exactly. That sounds correct. And Brandon, of course, actually played into him, so Brandon will give way better analysis in this regard than me. But that's the way I'm starting to see it. As I started to hear from Brad what he was doing, I was like, that makes so much sense. So we got, and then Hurtle is a great player. I think that was the mid swarm player, I think. So yeah, I'd be claiming that weird list, right? Chris Brown with the gaunts. You want to punch him too? No, I'm just kidding. Fat Man. Whoa! What up, everybody? What's up, Fat Man? I appreciate you. I think if we get hit with the Nerf bat, it'll be the truck and Maz. Yeah, and Maz is probably another good call out too. Just because, but I don't think he's really bothering anybody. Like no one's really kind of like called out like, Maz is so ridiculous. There's a lot of really ridiculous powerful units in the game. I'm not sure if Maz will be taken out of commission. I really hope that he doesn't really go open points. He can go either way. Like he can either demolish something outright, make you feel great, or he could just straight up whiff and do nothing. So because you're kind of relying on those dev wounds since he has like a lack of AP and such. But yeah, if he goes up, I guess I wouldn't be too surprised, but I would be a bit disappointed. Seems like I've caught up in chat. So let's go straight into Brandon. So Brandon did get 60th, but he was the second best performing Orc player at Nova, and he did do very well. Plus, I like to give our Orc players some love. We also do have someone outside of Nova's list that we're going to cover, so that got second place. So don't worry about that at all. So Brandon, let's take a look at Brandon's list just one more time, since we did see it when he did fight Chester. So with Brandon's list, Beast Boss on Squigosaur, Mazrog Scragbag, Naban Smasher Squig, Naban Smasher Squig, Naban Smasher Squig. I'm not recently, guys. This has not made my list at all. I haven't added a beast boss and squig and sword out. This isn't to discount Brandon. His list was all squigs, and this guy does give an aura for rework charges. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if he starts getting dropped for more orc lists. And then we got Beast Snagger Boys, Indra Trucks, Death Killer Wartrike. This is what I really like to see, and I think this is what's really going to start coming in a little bit more, right? Death Killer Wartrike with that feel no pain, just being so fast yet really decent durability. I can see that being something nice too, right? Then we got Gretchen. Brandon said he's not taking no less than 2 Gretchen, and I can see why. Then we have three big units of the Squig Hog Boys, only 1 Storm Boy unit, and then 2 small units of Warbikers. Right, 1 unit is used for scoring, doing all that. 1 is getting attached to the Death Killer Wartrike. So let's go into Brandon's games right off the whip. So his first one is Tau. So if you're paying attention to the meta as a whole, Tau are just not very imposing, and they're definitely not doing that great into us. Brandon said, I just kind of beat them up. Yeah, I can see why, but we'll still look it over real quick just so everybody kind of gets an idea. We got Shadow Sun, Commander Cold Star in a battle suit, Commander in a crisis suit, Ethereal, and Long Strike. 1 unit of strike guys, broadside battle suits, crisis battle suits, hammerhead gunship, okay, hammerhead gunship, stealth. This is one of the more filled lists of Tau I've seen. Instead of going for those big, very, very expensive bricks, he did try to kind of pass it out, still have an ability to score, spread his firepower, but when you do that too much in Tau, then you're not able to like kill things outright, and then even half of the unit can start beating you up. So Brandon just put the hurt on him. It's all good. He got 98 points into him. Great job. Brandon went into Brad. We'll just for fun, we'll pull Brad's list again real quick. Just the difference between him and Brandon, right? They both played orcs, but the difference. He brought Beast Bosses on foot, so instead of the Master Squig, and then he brought Captain Badrick in the mechs. So he brought more of like a mixed list. This is a bit more similar to what I'm running, but not exactly because I don't have bubble checkers and stuff, so I'm not going to even pretend making the same list. I'm just saying, as for the HQ, similar. Beast Snagger Boys, of course. Only 3 trucks, flash kits again, 2 Gretchen, 3 mech guns, and then I like this a lot. 2 small units of Squig Boys and 1 big. I really do like that when I play. And then 3 Storm Boy units. I tend to run 2, but 3 seems to be the grand number at the top tables. So, like I said, Brandon said, man, Brad put a clinic on me. Yeah, Brad Chester is one of the best players in the world. He's been captain of Team America before. So losing to him is absolutely no shame at all. Brandon did lose. He got a 55 points. No problem, though. Let's go into his third matchup, which is Imperial. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I said that. I was reading wrong. Nids. Yes, I didn't say Imperial Knights. Okay. Nids. Dummy Thick Monster Mash. Which, if you're running a bunch of squigs and then you see the monsters across the field, you're like, oh, well, your squigs are chomping at the bit. They're ready to just crump. They're ready to chew a piece out of these monsters. They're looking at them, laughing with those 4 up against all of them. So like I said, though, you got the Hive Tyrant and the Swarm Lord. This is what I'm more likely to see when I play against Nids, or when I've even put Nids lists together for fun. Adaptive Biology, of course, for the female pain. Barbed Hierodules, these are Forge World monsters. They have 2 big cannons to help them shoot, and then they have good melee damage 3 profiles as well. Biovores for indirect to actually score and put those little spores all over the field. So you guys tell me what you think. Do you think 0 OC units should be able to score secondaries? Last edition, if you had 0 OCs, couldn't participate in secondaries. I just want to know what you guys think. It would make Battle Shock more relevant as well. So we only got 1 Exocrine here. A lot of people are running a bunch. 2 RL Specs. RL Specs are just great melee monsters. They're very cheap. And then a Maliceptor plus a Tyrannofex with the Acid Spray. The Acid Spray is just a big damage through flamer. I really like those, and the Tyrannofex is not bad for how thick it is, right? But even with that thickness and the thickness of a Barbed Hierodule, you're not going to outplay orcs with their ability to crump you and take over the board on you. So Brandon put up 100 points against that guy. Whoa! Let's go up into the 4th list, which was a Demons. So again, if you're playing with a bunch of squigs and you run up into Demons or Nids and they have monsters, you're like, oh, I'm ready to crump you. You still got to be pretty careful because a lot of those lists do have high damage punches or shots as well. But once you get into combat with them, you start tearing them down. And usually you can play the mission a bit better than the troop. So we got Be'lakor, a bloodthirster just to be able to destroy stuff. The Great Unclean one, this is nice to see, right? I like the Great Unclean one personally. I like him, but he doesn't make it on the list. Curio's Fate Weaver, Brandon said that he used the truck. Oh, no, actually, he did that to Alexi. Like I said, we're going to do an interview so we can get more details from Brandon. I don't want to start leaking secrets. All right, so then we got the Lord of Change and the Shalexi Hellband. One thing Brandon said is using trucks to move block, get in front of her, you know, park it right in front of her. She pops it, then the boys get out, block them. That's exactly how you want to handle some stuff, guys. Piecemeal those monsters into your squigs. Let the other ones kind of deal with your chaff, mess with them. Then he got 1 unit of Nurglings and then a Changeling. So he just straight up said all monsters, and Brandon punished him for that, 97 points. Then we got number 5. Let's see. Sorry about that. Kind of easy to get lost. We got Adeptus Custodes. So this is a hard matchup right here. In general, Custodes can be kind of difficult. But Brandon was able to manage them this game. I was like, I knew there was a game that was hard. So let's see. We got Shield Captain, and a Lawrence Terminator armor. Sorry. And then we have Krejin Veloris. So here you can see that big brick of Custodes that no one likes to see on the battlefield. Very, very annoying, very troublesome. They get to reroll wounds. Their spears are assault, so they can reroll wounds with those as well. They get to fight first all the time. They also get to kind of pick up one of their own models if they have to with the strat. So the mission matters when you play them a lot, guys. We got Prosecutor, a Rhino for the Prosecutor sisters. Then we got an Alaris Custodian unit, a bit bigger, not those bunch of 2-man units. Grav Tank, Wardens, and then some more Wardens. He did bring a big brick of Wardens with the Vexilla. You see them there? So Brandon was actually able to pull this win off, right? With 99 points. Wow. Very impressive by Brandon. He'll go into more details on how he did that, but I'll give you a hint. Fight and death. That's one hint. It's not going to win you everything against them, but it will definitely help. Let's get into the 7th matchup for Brandon. This was Dark Angels. I love Crump and Dark Angels, just saying that right off the rip. So we got Captain and Terminator armor with Bolter Discipline, just one character, as you can see. Attack Bike with the multi-meltas. Deathwing Command Squad. So he has that big break of Terminators with their apothecary, with their fancy little characters and such. Then he has the Inceptor Squad, just one, and he has the Plasmas here instead of the Vultures. One Land Speeder. I know I said Land Raider. Sorry. He has one Land Speeder, another Land Speeder Tornadoes, which are a bit more shooty, but still very, very cheap and quick. Land Speeder Typhoons, Land Speeder Typhoon again. As you can see, he's going for a nice mix of speed and then having that brick to hold the center objective. Vengeance, some Whirlwinds for that indirect. Yeah. So this list was very Dark Angel-esque. We can see something similar to this coming to the forefront once they get their codex. If you were around last edition, you know that once they start getting their rules, the fact that they have some of the most elite Terminators and then they also have some of the least speed units, very, very annoying. And that could be very troublesome in the future. But for now, Brandon actually ended up taking them out with 7. And actually, I misspoke. Game 6, Brandon did lose. I wrote that on this here to the Custodes. I don't know what the heck I just said. I'm sorry about that. My notes are a little ugly. He did lose this game 6 to the Golden Boys, and he lost game 2 to the Orcs. No shame in losing to the Golden Boys. We already went through their win rate. The fact that they get to fight first and they get to reroll so many things is very annoying, very cheap, very corny. But it's okay. Hopefully tomorrow it gets chopped in the head. All right, let's go into his 8th and final matchup. Oh, Brandon said, hey, you missed tonight's game. Let's see, where did I put that on here? Oh, that's game 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's not. Oopsie, guys. Look, I messed this up in my notes a little bit. Let's see. Which game was the game? There's a Custodes. I keep clicking on that one. Oh, guys. I did this wrong. Ha, there it is. Yes. I missed rope. Sorry. Okay. Here is the night game. Night Crusader again without the enhancement, and then a Night Galleant. 4 Wargleaves? Yes, 4 Wargleaves. Okay. So Brandon in this matchup, Actually, he says in general against Knights, he's hoping to go first. Nova didn't have great terrain, as you can see when we go over the pictures in the interview. So it's a big issue, and as we've seen when we go over the stats, that Knights do great into Orcs, and if you're running a bunch of squigs, you're kind of hard to hide. They're just happy to have a field gauge shooting at you if they can. That was actually Brandon's second loss. I misspoke. I apologize. Yes, I'm a little ugly. Sorry, my first time alone. I apologize, Brandon. Luckily, we're gonna do an interview and make this beautiful. So, he did lose to them, but like I said, the table does play into a factor. The fact that Knights do very well into Orcs is a factor. So yes, Brandon did end up dropping that game, but I'm not surprised. I would have dropped that game too. A lot of people would have dropped that game, as you can see according to the stats. Then we got, and then he said he did beat Custodes. Okay, I don't want to mess you guys up, right? But actually, you know what? Let me put that on here. Bam. 6 was Knights. I beat Custodes. So I apologize for being a little sloppy. First time running this alone. Ooh, I'm ugly for that. Let's see. Now we'll go into the final game that Brandon had to play. He did lose this one, but like I said, he only lost to possibly one of the best players in America in 2 of our hardest matchups statistically. So that's nothing to sneeze at. That's also why I wanted to show Brandon in this list, because he still did great. He was the second best performing Orc player there, and he only got taken down by some of the most ugly lists and armies that there are. So let's see. We got the Blade Champion, Shield Captain, Trajan Valores, 1 big unit of Guardians right here, and then, 2 3-man units of Laris Terminators. That's imposing. 3 units is just enough that they could just demolish enemy units. They have enough shooting with their little grenade launchers and everything, so that could be problematic. Then we got 2 units of Wardens, right? Wardens just a little bit cheaper. They have a different kind of durability sense and profile with the Wardens, and that could be a problem too, and it was. Then we have the Caladius Assassin. Of course, this guy's just great for everybody right now. He's very common. And then the 2 Exaction Squads, because why would you bring Sisters of Battle if you could bring these tiny guys for no points? Sisters of Silence, when you have these guys, they feel no pains, and they're even cheaper. So Brandon did lose that game as well. I apologize for misbooking, but he put up good points, 76 points, still great performance by him. So just because right here we're looking at this, just because I messed it up so badly, he lost the 2nd game to Brad Chester. He lost his 6th game to Imperial Knights, and then he lost his final game. But as you can see, he put up 100, 100, 99, 97, 98. That's why I wanted to show this, because every game he won were almost perfects. Almost perfect. And that's what you really want to see as an Orc player. And as anybody, if you show up to events, put up that score, get a good performance. Don't be shy if you lose a couple games. Really, it's not that bad, especially when sometimes the meta's flipped on its head. So let me just show his list one more time before we move on to chat one more time, and then I'll look at the final list that I looked at this week. So, like I said, he had the Beast Boss on Squigosaur, Mazrog's Cragbag, 3 Knobs on Smashaquig, 1 with the ability to fall back and charge, the other one with Adwapa's Kill Chopper, 2 Beast Snaggle Boys in the trucks, Death Killer Ward Trike, nice little tech piece, very different with the super cyborg body, 2 Gretchen units, Squighog Boys, Squighog Big Boys, Squighog Boys, 1 unit of Storm Boys, and then 2 units of Bikers. He said he loved strategic reserves when he was playing. Him and Brad Chester both said the same thing. So if you guys are not utilizing strategic reserves, you might want to get more into it. Try to put different units into that you were expecting, because you might get different results from the game you've been having as well. So before we go into Chroming Kible, he was in Germany. It was about a 32-person GT. He got 2nd place, and I wanted to show his list because I like to show lists from across the pond. Even though I know it's England usually referred to across the pond, but in general, Europe as a whole, I refer to it as across the pond. So I wanted to look at this. Let me look at the chat though, because it's getting busy, and I messed up so much that I'm sure people are yelling at me. Let's see. Said, I'm so jealous of mids. I want speed wall detachment and shooting detachment so bad. Yeah, I can feel you on that. I have a big speed wall. I think speed wall might be one of the biggest parts of my collection. And I would say never be jealous of armies that come out first. There's something called power creep in Warhammer 40K, and the newest codexes tend to be the ones that get outdated the quickest and tend to actually lose in the power scale. So one of the best places to be is kind of like in the middle, which I think is where Orc's going to be. So don't feel bad for that. I know you're going to miss out on everything. Hopefully, you can see Death Killer War Strike can still be used. Speed Boss Ann has been running a bunch of lists in our Discord. She took her Speed Wall to RTT, so she's still trying to figure that out too. Don't be discouraged. I can see why you are though, but mind you, power creep is a thing. Getting your codex later is actually a decent thing. He said, yes, I got hit by that a couple weeks ago. I don't know what they're talking about, but yes. Brandon yelled at me for missing the game. Yes, I did. I apologize. Like I said, it was a second loss. Then we got Wilkid Joe. This weekend, I'll be playing my first game of 10th edition, and I'm bringing some Squig Hogs. Ooh. Yeah, man. Them Squig Hogs are excellent. They are doing a great job overall. Don't be scared to run them in small units. I definitely recommend running at least one knob on Smash the Squig. I like Ed Wappa's Kill Chop on there, but if you choose not to do it, it's all right, man. But do a great job with them and get into those skirmishes. You'll feel good. Don't forget them bomb squigs either, and don't forget that squigs have grenades. So Squig Hog boys can throw that bomb squig. They can also throw grenades. So if you ever have to go into something with that skirmish unit or that big unit that you feel like you need a little more umph, go ahead and do that. Brandon said, yep, Knights was a 6th game. I'm sorry about that, brain ended. Whoa, let's go, lads. Let's see what happened here. Why the flip are Knights half the cost of Stompas? That's because the Stompa is way too cool. No, I'm just kidding. That Stompa's been actually at this point cost for like several editions, my friend. It's partially because GW hates Stompas. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. It's partially because the Stompa is one of those multi-purpose models I like to bring up, right? It has a crazy shooting profile. If it does start to hit and go off, it demolishes people. Its damage when it fights is damage like 9 when it starts to crump. So if it ever gets into combat with some kind of knight, it just tears that knight apart and doesn't even care. And it also transports. So remember, when you're talking about multi-purpose models, don't be surprised if they go up in cost, like our kill rig, because they serve multi-phases of the game. Do I think that's fair for the Stompa? Not necessarily. You are also paying for the mech usually to get a +1 hit, so the Stompa actually costs $8.45. But I love my Stompa, don't worry. You good, homie. I appreciate you, kid. He said, Knights are real tough for orcs. I find, not yet beating them personally, but not for lack of trying. You know what, my friend? I think Brad Chester might have given us a sneak peek into how you beat them by going a bit more deep into strategic reserves than you would expect and being able to hide a bit more of your units quicker than you thought. More than you usually can. And then by that play, as you move up the field, able to hug buildings, hide a little bit more, you're letting the knight player know, hey, more stuff's going to come off the field a bit closer to you over the table edges, and you can't just shoot them while they're trying to get there. And that's going to inhibit the knight player from being able to kill you too quickly. He might have to come in a bit sooner to try to take over the board. So try to consider that. Hopefully, when Brad does his little Nova recap, he can actually give you some insight to that. And that's why I say go check out Death and Glory. Brad's content as for orcs hasn't getting as much views as I think it should as an orc player myself. So don't be scared to go over there, give him a nice little like, show Brad some love, let him know that we're all about the big, great green wall and that we're all on the same wall, right? Because at the end of the day, we're just looking to crump everybody else and then each other if there's no one left. All right, guys. So that's it for the chat for now. Of course, so remember, on Friday, just to let you guys know who's here, we are going to go over what's going to be released on Thursday. And then on top of that, I'm looking to have a longer hobby stream. We get to each other, the community aspect of it. I'm hoping to pull up pictures from the Discord's hobby chat, stuff like that. So if you guys are enjoying this at all and I'm doing a decent job with my live presentation and my new tech, then hopefully on Friday we can have a nice conversation, go on a bit longer, get back into that community aspect part, not just simply talk about competitive play. I like competitive play a lot, but we all about it all here. I'm about that energy across the board. Now, sorry, I jumped too quick. Roman, like I said, he is got second place at the GT that he went to, so I wanted to give him a shout out too. And let's look at his list. So Beast Boss, Captain Badrock. Like I said, guys, if you start getting to that top table, like top 5 at a GT, top 10 as an orc player, most likely you got Captain Badrock. When I did my top 10 orc units video, even though they only ended up at about number 8 or so, they were pretty much on every top performing list. I might miss 1 or 2 here, but as a whole, they were on like every top performing list as orcs. Mazrog's Crackbag, Naban's Crashes Quick with Kanamba Brutal. You know, I personally would have just put that head skill chopper, but who cares what I think? Then we got the Warball. I see you out there, WAAAGHDAY. Let's go. Power claw in the air. All right, and then we got with Follow Me, lads. I feel like that's a bit of a tax, but if you have the points, go ahead and do it, right? Because that makes a difference at 2 inches. Then we got 2 units of Beast Snagger Boys, 4 trucks, excuse me, right? 1 for knobs, 1 for flash kits, 2 for the Beast Snagger Boys battle line. 1 unit of Gretchen here. Then here's the flash kits, of course. Here's the knobs. I love the knobs, guys. If you know me, I'm a knob fan. And then we got 1 big unit of Squig Hog Boys, the way I like it too, followed by 2 3-man units. That's skirmishing, guys. You can hide them. You're just going to beat up every other unit that's near 100 points to them, right? Anything close to them at 100 points, you start beating them up, or you just beat them on the OC. They're just great overall. Small Armors Fire doesn't respect Squig Hog Boys at all. Then we got 2 units of Storm Boys. This is right. Not that I'm saying I could perform as well as this guy, but this is actually very similar to what I've been running. Like very, very similar. Very, very similar list. The only difference is I think the amount of the difference is I ran typical boys and a bit more like chaff, and I ran Ed Wappa's Kill Chopper. This is the kind of list that I would run if you cared about what I run, but you shouldn't care about what I run. Here's what these guys as a whole. Let's look into this matchups though. So let's get straight into it. This is someone I wasn't able to talk to. Guys, that's what's really cool is that through the Discord, I was able to meet Rick Kincaid. I was able to recontact with Brad Chester. Of course, we got War Boss Brandon in there. We got Speed Ann. There's so many good players that also share their cool armies and such. More guys than that. We got guys that ran Stompas at GTs and perform well that showed up to our Discord, started talking to me directly. So if you ever see, these videos or you want to share this around, it definitely helps because our community is a bit smaller than you'd expect. And I'm sure people like to get more WAAAGH love since orcs never get enough attention or enough love, but that's what we're here for. We're bringing the tide. So let's look at this first matchup. First matchup is the Black Templars. Black Templars actually do decently into orcs, guys, which is kind of suiting, right, according to the lore. So we got Captain and Terminator armor. I personally like when you see a Space Marine list that has very light in the characters. You know, that guy knows the weaknesses of Space Marines, and he's not taking it to too many characters like a lot of other guys do. 2 dedicated plant transports. He went for the Impulsors, followed by 2 Gladiator Lancers. These guys are great if you ever played against Gladiator Lancers, guys. They get to re-roll a hit roll, a wound roll, and a damage roll, so they're very reliable to popping trucks and such like that. We got the Eradicator squad, of course, because Space Marines love their Eradicators. Very good profile, but not scared of them. Primera Sword Brethren. This is unique to Black Templars. Essentially, they want to fight. More Primera Sword Brethren, followed by Redemptive Dreadnought. This was the only Dreadnought that retained its -1 damage, which matters. You know, since death wounds actually get affected by that, you lose the damage off that. Scout Snipers, good for sniping out weak characters, standing back. 1 unit of Terminators, right? And if you have knobs, you know that's exactly what the knobs are looking to go into, right? You run up in there, get that unbridled carnage during the WAAAGH. You win these guys on 2. You're hitting them on 3s, exploding 5s. You just smash through them. Even if you don't kill the whole unit, you're killing so much of it that you're not scared of it anymore. Then we got the Caladius Exaction Squads. So that's the Templars list. I can see how he ended up crumping on this. And he got 93 points against that player. Let's go into the second matchup. This was actually a mirror match into orcs. Whoa. Let's look at this counterpart orc. We got a Beast Boss, followed by a Beast Boss with Follow Me Lads. That's a bit odd, right? You start making them a bit more expensive. Probably just had the points left over. Another Beast Boss. So this guy said 3 Beast Bosses. And this one has Cunning Approval. I don't ever find that my unit survives that long. So I was a little bit surprised about that too, right? Once you get in there and you start charging, the unit gets kind of picked up pretty easily. And the Beast Boss by himself isn't that durable. So I was surprised to see that. Then you got 1 naked one right there. Beast Boss on Squiggle Store with Ed Wappa's Kill Chopper, right? That's what a lot of people were running at first. Then we got Mazrog's Greg Bag. Here we got the 4 units of Beast Snagger Boys, followed by the 4 trucks. 1 unit of Gretchen, the mech guns, right? These mech guns, guys, seem to be getting more and more relevant. I know I don't give them as much love as I should sometimes, but mech guns, start putting them in your list if you have the points left over, because you could use them for scoring secondaries too, for them as strategic reserves. Maybe in that matchup, you don't need them to shoot, or you just need more stuff to be off the table. That's fine. 1, 2, 3, what I would call skirmishing units of Squig Hog Boys. He just bought 3 small ones, not paying for the brick, not paying for the sergeant. And then he brought 3 Storm Boys units. So this was actually a decent list overall. I appreciate that list. This is something that I would have seen like 5 weeks ago, right? This is kind of what orcs were typically kind of first going into when the game started. when when the edition started, orcs were going into more beasts, snagger boys on foot. They were going to the beast boss on Squiggle Sword with Wapa's Kill Choppa. Some people weren't sure about the Knob Sergeant. So yeah, that's what was his second game. He did put up 100 points into that counterpart orc player. So I wouldn't be surprised if Roman is just an excellent player as a whole, because even Brad Chester understood that you had to play a bit cagey into other fellow orcs and squigs. But Roman found a way to just bully that guy a little bit, show that he's the proper war boss. Right away, third matchup. Now he's getting close to the sun, as I like to call it, right? When you start to do well. We got Eldar. We got the Artark Wayleaper, Farseer, Sky Runner, Night Speeder, the Solitaire, and the Yin Khan. So there's a decent list, a bit good list because it's Eldar, just to say off the bat. Bit different with the Solitaire, though. 3 Fire Prisms, right? Like I say, I don't know. Is Germany like 3 weeks behind or a month behind on the meta or what? What are you guys doing? No, I'm just kidding. We got 3 Fire Prisms here. 1 unit of Rangers. Don't see those all the time. Shadow Specters, the support weapons, right? You get that Shuriken Catapult for 100 points, another one for 100 points, and then Wraith Knights. All right, so he just has the gun line. But as a whole, Roman put up 100 points against him as well. So as you see, guys, orcs do fine overall into Eldar. When you start getting into the best Eldar players, where they really master the movement phase, they know what you're trying to do as an orc player. They're making sure they're utilizing those 6s to get them dev wound through with the knights. They have good target priority. That's when they can start beating us. But if you're talking about the casual, maybe mid-table level, orcs do fine because we just out-pressure them. Even if they kill half our unit, the rest of that unit's beating the crap out of whatever their scoring unit is. So that's why it's pretty good. Orcs aren't really that scared, so imagine once they get nerfed, where we're going to be crumping on them, right? This is the 4th matchup, another Dark Angels list. So you see that guy? Dark Angels kind of coming up right here. That's why I wanted to show you this. Dark Angels have excellent character choice. They have unique Terminator choices, and when they start getting their codex, they're going to start getting interesting support for their land speeders as well. So we got Azrael, Captain in Terminator armor, and a Primaris Apothecary with Bolter Discipline. Again, I'll make the joke. Are you guys behind like 5 weeks in the meta? Because this is what we used to see. I'm just kidding again. Then we got Deathwing Knights, followed by the Desolation Marines, followed by the Hellblasters. Ooh, the Hellblasters. So these guys are a interesting, different tech piece that I played against this not too long ago. You give them essentially lethals on 6s. You can make them sustained on 6s and such. These guys do really well, especially when you put Oath of Moment onto somebody, and then when they do die, even if they blow themselves up on hazards, they get to shoot you as well. So this is a nice volume of fire. It mixes up lethal and shooting. It put like 26 wounds into my Squighog boys when I fought against them. So very relevant. Then we got the Inceptor squad with Plasma. Very different. Different again with Plasma. And then some more Plasma. So this guy was just, nah, I don't need the bolters. I got the Plasma. And then 2 units of infiltrators. Space Marines need that because they hate to be flanked, like I said. And then the Caladius Assassin. As you're seeing, he's very common on every list. So pay attention to your CP management, guys. Be smart because it's coming for you. That was his 4th game, and he got 94 points again. So this guy's putting up excellent points. That's why I wanted to show you his list, his style of play, consistent points, right? Him, Brandon, Brad putting up just amazing points in the 90s. So if Orcs winning, they're winning big. And then we'll go into his final matchup, which was the Golden Boys. So as you can see, he actually did lose this game as well. He only put 34 points up. So I'm not shaming him. I'm saying that shows how good Brandon was doing, getting up 75 still. Of course, the mission matters. So we got the Blade Champion, Shield Captain with Ceaseless Hunter, and Trajan Valores. This guy was going for just 5, 4, 4, 4. That's quite annoying. Against a shooting army, you can kind of chip this down and make it not as threatening. But against orcs, you're not going to have such an easy time. I do like to, sorry, go too fast there. I do like to see when people break either to 2 or 3-man squads of the Alar's Terminators. I can see that kind of meta sticking around for a little bit. That's what I used to do when I played Custodes as a whole, because easier to get these strikes in. The unit's still far strong enough to skirmish and still not too expensive to skirmish and get trades. So very annoying. Then we got the Wardens, just 1 unit, and then the Caladi Assassin making his comeback again. So, yes, as we said, Roman did lose 39 points, but he got 2nd place, only losing to that guy. No shame there, nothing to be mad about. Great job by him. Let's look over here real quick, leave this on, and I'm going to take a look at the chat because right now I've just been going. Also, guys, I don't know if I have allergies or something right now, but I know it's a little cloggy, so sorry that I sound like a squig. Let's look. Let's see what the chat says. We think we said that one? Yeah, not for lack of trying. Oh, did you see Chrome Light Gorgonaut model? It looks good. No, but if you share it on Discord, I will look at it. I was trying to prepare for the stream, guys, make it interesting. Punch in the air with power claws. Exactly right. Snap. I'll be doing that all the time, guys. Don't worry. I punched the air for no reason. I punched the air right before we started the stream. We got Rob right here. With Eldar hopefully getting nuked tomorrow, what's the predictions for the next top faction? I see NIDS, GSC doing very well. So GSC is going to be making its performances, but GSC is not a very popular army. It's a bit hard to collect, a bit expensive, a lot of models to paint up. So, and I do think they're actually going to hit with a little bit of a nerf hammer too. Not too much, but I can see them getting hit with a nerf hammer. As for orcs, even if you start nerfing GSC a little bit, orcs start to kind of put them in the dust and beat them as well. Since you brought that up, let's pull this right here, our faction breakdown, because this is, like I said, 801 to 807, what we did here, right? So if you're talking about in regards to the whole meta, who's going to start coming up to the wayside? If I had to think about it, without saying like GSC, we're going to see, I think T-Sons are going to creep up to the top. And I think Necrons, if they don't catch some kind of nerf as well, Necrons are going to start walking around stat checking people. They're going to start walking around with big bricks of warriors, just hating on you. You're not going to be able to kill me. There was a point in 9th edition that happened where Necron players were like, oh, I'll just stat check you and just walk up the table and not do anything. And then they would win. So I would say Necrons, if they don't get hit with the nerf. T-Sons, I don't see getting hit with the nerf, so they're going to still become relevant. I don't think GW is going to hate NIDS too much. So if I had to guess, I'd say T-Sons, NIDS are going to be creeping up towards the top all over again. And who else could I think of? Possibly, unless they've been figured out, I'm going to call it right now, Black Legion Chaos Marines, right? They might be able to kind of find a way to sneak up back into it again. About 3 weeks ago, we seen them making their showing. Getting so many different marks to not be able to be shot. To enhance their ability to do combat and do lethals would be another way to really start to beat everybody up and kind of take over the meta as a whole. Guard, no, I mean, no, because I hope GW brings that rule back. Sisters, they're just kind of not good in a good place. Blood Angels could become a little bit more interesting too, but I don't know. Not Space Marines as a whole are not really that great. So if I had to say, just off the top of my head, we'll say T-Sons are going to come up as being really, really relevant. We're going to say Tyranids are going to become even more relevant. And then I would just say, just a black shot in the dark, Chaos Space Marines, Black Legion to be specific, might start more relevant in the meta. Okay? And if you ask WAAAGHDAY, he thinks the Stomp is going to be 600 points tomorrow. You know what? If we think it enough, if we all believe it, that's going to happen. All right, guys. So, in short, what I wanted to conclude before I say goodbye, or unless you guys want to throw some more chats in, right? Actually, we'll keep this up. Is orcs are, let me actually go to the stats winning rate just so I can show you guys point by point. Remember, as you read here, I'm using the Leviathan GT pack when I look over these so you guys can follow. And these are the dates if you guys want to follow or double check me. And then here are the orcs right here. Bam. We're talking about the 56% real win rate, not including the mirror. As you can see, this is how many games we have. So we're not like super popular. As you can see, Necrons here, Space Marines. But like I said, when we were talking about GSC, look, this is how many games they have. 1273, not that much, right? And that's while they're being relevant. But if you look right here, Chaos Space Marines are right here. So they're a very popular army. And if they start realizing what to do with Black Legion, they can start rising into the meta as well. Eldar, haha, 3,000 games, you're funny. And then everybody owns a custode army, so of course they're like 4,000 games. It's hilarious. And then Necrons, because last edition they were the #1 army, look at that. Very, very popular. That's why I said I could see them coming up if they don't get hit with a sufficient enough nerf hammer, right? But hold on, let me read a chat real quick one more time before I give my concluding thoughts. I'm taking gas to an RTT on Saturday. Ooh. Are you bringing, I'm just going to say, are you bringing just like 2 Mega Knobs? That way you can just get the dev ones when you charge and keep the profile small? Or are you bringing a big unit? As for Gaz, no, man, he's good. He's good because he gives the big aura of lethal during the wall, and you kind of need that. So for some things you need that, right? For as a whole, we lack lethal as an army. He said 5 meganubs. Okay, so you're bringing the brick. So as long as you deliver them, I would say try to think about your own strategic reserves as well. But Gaz is totally relative and relevant in the meta. He's totally relevant to a bunch of different lists as a whole. We really like the AP. We really like the high damage. When you roll hot enough on that Makari save too, you're just bothering everybody. You're going to make them have to deliver some kind of devastating wounds unit to you, which means you can counter that by knowing what's coming at you by just looking at their list, right? So pay attention to know that most people are going to see Gaz, know about the 2-up invuln, and say, hey, I'm probably going to try to deliver dev wounds into that unit. So locate their dev wound placing unit and try to either muck it up or just straight crump it out of existence. I think that would be a good way to keep Gaz more relevant. And just remember, during the wall is when it really matters the most. So I don't know the rest of your list, but we can talk about it on Discord. But yeah, I think Gaz is totally good, man, especially for an RTT level. If people just don't have the stuff to deal with him, he's going to just run through everybody. Idea for Discord. Best conversions get a shout out, or oh yeah, dude, that's something that we did earlier, but because our computer couldn't handle pulling up the slides and everything, our old computer, we stopped showing like the pictures as much. But that's actually what I'm looking to do Friday. I'm looking to pull up the most awesome kit bashed models, pull up the best hobbying armies in units. So definitely share that, guys. I pay attention to that so hard because if I had to grade myself, I would say my weakest aspect of 40K is my painting capability. I'm not a great painter. I got into 40K as a grown adult with no actual creativity skills. Everything I ever did had to do with either like actual combat or sports or athleticism. So my creative brain is like the size of this pinky. I got nothing going on for me. So whenever I see you guys going off like Daggers and anybody else, you guys really do inspire me and get me motivated. I started painting even more because of that Discord itself. So don't ever think that I'm not paying attention to that. And that's going to become a very, very important part of the channel. Right? We're not, I'll say it again, we are not a competitive channel specifically. We like to know about the meta because you got to know about the meta to get some wins in and to get your fun models in there, right? Also, because if I know the meta, if we know the meta, and we show lists that are out of the box performing, right? Last week, we showed the double kill rig list. We showed Stompa performing. We showed Stompa plus Gargantua and Squiggoth performing. That's why I actually go into competitive play. It's not because I really care for what to play 6 trucks, 3 mega track scrap, 3 track big tracks. Like that's fine, but that's a little boring. No offense. So really, I just do it because I like to know what's good, just so that I can add enough of my flavor and still get competitive, fun games. And because I don't like the spam stuff, I don't own like 3 beast bosses on foot. I don't care to own that many. So stuff like that, guys. And I think as a whole, I relate to you in that way. So the content that we care to put out on the channel is know about the meta, know about the competitive, know about your faction inside and out. But then from there, add your flavor. We all want a different way. We all own different models. I don't want you running out grabbing stuff to buy just because you want to win. I want you to know that there's other options. There's other ways to win. That's why I always try to pull flavor lists. I might have gone on the rant, but that's because that's important to me when we talk about the Discord. Okay. The Discord is not just for competitive talk and play. It's for I want to see your armies. I want to see your play, right? Like I want to give Speed Boss and shout out again because Speedball and was like, I don't care, bro. I'm taking my buggy speed wall to an RTT and I'm gonna report in on how it's doing. And then people immediately started to engage and talk to that wanted to know what's going on. That's really what it's about. So yeah, we're gonna definitely be doing that. I'm gonna make slides. I'm gonna get pictures, of course, and stuff like that. I'm also going to show, just casually people who did good at RTTs that I want to give shout outs to, stuff like that. And then also, last but not least, we'll be doing interviews with Brandon and possibly anybody else that wants to be a part of it and participate with us, right? I'm going to look at chat again before I run away. So we got, think orcs gonna rise. Yeah, it's the rise of the green tide. Whoa. Yeah, guys, for sure. Orcs are, if we've already been rising as the meta has been ugly and kind of discouraging everybody, imagine once you kneecap Custodes. Imagine once you kneecap Eldar. Okay. And it's not like I expect stuff that's doing good into us to get buffs. I don't expect Imperial Knights or T-Suns to get a buff. So as a whole, don't be surprised if we jump into that top A-tier army, but then other people try to jump on the bandwagon because that's typically what happens, right? 5 mechs. He said, I don't have Maz. LOL. I bit the normie boss in 9th because I wasn't going snake bite. Shout out to any of you guys. I I almost made that same, I wouldn't call it a mistake, but choice. What I did is, like, because you know when your beast boss comes, I built the squig part. Look at my hands, that makes sense, right? The squig part, and then literally at the division of the torso, I put magnets. So I magnetized Maz onto the beast or the beast boss. I can swap him off, put another one there. Of course, I eventually kit bash my own beast boss on Swigosaur, so I can have two if I choose to. But right off the bat, because I care about that, like I said, I don't like to spam too much stuff. When I first got the kit, I didn't know what I was going to do. So what I did is I built the Great White Squig because I thought he looked a little cooler as a pose. And then I magnetized the torso between the beast boss and WAAAGH. And then I just pop WAAAGH off where they put the beast boss on. So that could be another tip if you guys ever end up buying him and want to do stuff like that, right? Then we got, thanks for the recap and the love. Whoa. No, thank you. Because Brandon, hold on, guys. Don't run away. This is only going to take 1 second. I'm going to show you what Brandon sent. Bah. Bah. Look at this. So Brandon sent me 3 kill tanks, okay? And yes, I'm aware that they're 3D printed ones. I don't care. Like I said, guys, it's awesome anyways, regardless. I'm going to paint them into my scheme. This thing's big. Look at this. Look up. It's taking up the whole screen of my head. All right. So thank you. Shout out to you, Brandon, because he is a generous war boss as well. And I'm looking to take those to like an RTT or something fun, possibly even a GT, because we know what the meta is. But I want to bring my own taste and flavor with a little bit of the big mech. Then he says, just got in. What did I miss? Would I be mean to say everything? So, guys, we should be putting timestamps in this also. I know it's a bit hard to ingest when you are just trying to get bits and pieces. David is in Italy, but normally what we do also do for these is we break them down from each person's list, or we'll put timestamps, right? We're still trying to get better at this as a whole, but that's the goal. And like I said, Brandon is going to get an interview at some point once I stop being a hard boy. So that's going to be sick. And like I said, Brad Chester is also in our Discord. So if you want to give him a shout out, say hello to him, be nice to him. He's very busy. He also has Death and Glory channel. Speed Boss Ant's very helpful. You want to talk to them about anything related to speed walls and stuff. Very fun. We got also big bosses in there that use the Stompas. We got a bunch of different people. If I didn't say your name, it's not because I forgot you or don't care about you. It's just because I have a hard boy memory. All right. So that being said, you guys, let's see. Wade said everything, and then he said, "Oh, fudge." Yeah. So I appreciate all of you guys that are here. This is my first time running it solo, so hopefully I did all right. Hopefully it wasn't too choppy. I know I was messing up Brandon's list for a second, but hey, I'll be better at this. Friday should be fun. I'm gonna try to put some slides together, maybe for some pictures to show you guys off. So if you guys share in the Discord, if you've already posted it, post it again. That way it could be kind of closer down the line, so I could see it a bit easier. That'd be nice, especially if it's something that is already finished and done. That'll be great. Or if it's a kit bash, show that too. We also have a 3D printed channel part opened up, guys. You can either show 3D printed models there or actually share the files themselves directly. Because I know if you've used Call 3D yourself, you can go through so many different pages looking for something. So many, and sometimes you just want to see how it actually looks painted without having to pull up like the weird little pictures they put on Cult 3D. So that's why we open that as well. Because we encourage kit bashing, 3D printing, doing whatever you got to do to enjoy your hobby, guys, because it's an expensive hobby, it's a time-consuming hobby, and it's a war hobby. All right. So let's see. No more chats, making sure I don't miss none of you gets. All right, guys, this was a fun one. I look forward to tomorrow. That's it, dude. We got one sleep and a wake up. We get to see what happens to the Eldar, and then we get to get a good guesstimation of the rise of the Green Tide. And Friday we'll go over this. So get your questions together. Let's talk about it. Let's get excited. We got the new computer, so the opportunity is in abundance right now, guys. We're gonna get a soundboard. We're gonna do so much stuff. I'm super excited. That's why I keep ranting. All right. But one thing to keep in mind, regardless, is don't cross the wall, because we'll knock your teeth out.